Hey everybody, welcome back to Life with Lachey. I have my husband here with me again today, Milan, and we're going to talk about our experience with pregnancy and hyperemesis. I'm pregnant, got a baby in here, baking, baby on board.
I did it. It's mine.
You did do this to me. You are the father. Right now I'm 17 weeks and 2 days pregnant, so I'm in the second trimester, and also right now hooked up to an IV, which you can't see the whole pole, but it's just saline running right now, and we're at home. So basically we wanted to just share our experience with how hyperemesis has been. Obviously I'm up and able to talk, so I'm in a pretty good state right now, but it has not always been this way. So we just want to walk you through what it's like, because when I was really sick, I know I did like a lot of looking on the internet to see what made it better. It was really hard to figure out how to advocate for myself. I had a really hard, and I'm good at self-advocacy, I had a really hard time getting what I needed from my doctors. And from my understanding, that's the same experience that lots of women with hyperemesis had. So yeah, so let's jump right in.
You want to dive?
Let's dive in. So basically I found out I was pregnant pretty early, 4 weeks. I think that's pretty early. On Mother's Day this year. The irony. The irony, it was not planned. All right, so boom, found out I'm pregnant. And you know, the first, from 4 weeks to about 5.5, 6 weeks, the only symptoms I had, still pretty early, I was just really sleepy, like uncharacteristically tired. People who know me know I don't really, look at you, you're yawning. Milan is the sleepy one of us two. I don't really get sleepy like that. On cue, yeah. Like I get up at like 5 or 6 in the morning and I'm good till midnight on go. I don't drink coffee. It's very rare that I drink tea, to be honest, with caffeine in it. But I was just so tired. Like I really could not do anything but just sleep. It was wild. And then about like 5 weeks, you know, I started to get like this queasy feeling, like not quite nauseous, just like my stomach is kind of unsettled. And I was praying, you know, like, oh, I hope. I'm not one of those people who thought pregnancy was sunshine and rainbows to begin with. Pregnancy never seemed like a fun experience to me, but I was hoping and praying that I would have, you know, a smooth pregnancy, that I wouldn't be sick, that I'd be one of the lucky ones. So then about when we were 5.5 weeks pregnant, we had already rejoined the gym, or joined the gym after COVID quarantine. I mean, it's not over, but originally when the cases were going down, we tried to start getting back active. And so we were at the gym on a Saturday morning, just a regular Saturday, outside working hard, pushing sleds. And suddenly on my last go round, I was like, I'm not gonna make it. I had to run for the bathroom. That was the first time I threw up. From then, it just never stopped. Like, man, the floodgates were open and I could not figure out how to close them. So from like that 5.5 week mark until
yesterday,
basically, I was throwing up non-stop, bruh, like non-stop. So this is what made me angry. Y'all didn't tell me this. When you get pregnant, they say, oh, morning sickness. That's a lie. Why would y'all lie like that? It's not morning sickness. It's all day long sickness.
It starts in the morning.
It starts in the morning.
Maybe that's where they come.
And then the next morning, you still sick. Yeah. You just never stop being sick. So I was just sick from sun up to sundown, and at night too. So basically, you know, in the beginning, I thought this is just pregnancy. You know, you don't feel great in the beginning. I wasn't able to eat much. I think those first couple of weeks, we tried all the things that are on the internet, like, you know, saltines, Gatorade, ginger ale, soup, fruit, cold fruit. Yeah, I was living on cold fruit for a little while.
Popsicles.
Ice pops. We tried all that stuff. And, you know, I was throwing it up, like
everything.
I was throwing up everything. And so I thought that, you know, still I was like, we'll just keep trying. But at this point, like, to give you some context, I was really just like in the bed.
Also, it wasn't just like the fact that we was doing like Powerades and Gatorades and stuff. We was trying different flavors of Powerade, different flavors of Gatorade, because some flavors didn't work with her and some did, and then it would work for like a week, and then the next week you can't even drink that color, not even just the flavor, you can't even look at the color anymore.
Yeah. So basically I was just really sick. And then in addition to that, I had developed, you know, you may have heard about in pregnancy, this hypersensitive sense of smell. So my nose was just off the chain. So the apartment that we live in is a lovely apartment. It is a clean apartment. It is a new apartment. Doesn't, like in Philadelphia, a lot of buildings are old. Like this building is new. There's no mold smells. There's none of that. What am I trying to say? My husband creates
pregnancy brain.
It really is. My husband creates his own sauces and dry rubs, right? His own seasoning. And so he makes it here at home. And all I could smell was the seasonings, the spices in the seasonings. Okay, it's making me sneeze. So talking about it. Whew.
Man.
That's another symptom. We'll come back to it later.
On cue.
On cue. So all I could smell was the seasonings. The smell of the spices were making me so sick that as soon as I would just inhale it, I have to go to the bathroom and throw up.
Yeah. And mind you, it's like as soon as she walked in the door, it's hitting her. Like just not even a deep breath, it was just smell it.
Yeah.
Run to the back. Or we in the bedroom and she walked in the hallway and it's all throughout the apartment. It's all down the hallway.
Yeah.
So I go to
and to be, I don't think anybody really smells it but me, to be honest.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. Like I wasn't smelling the spices like that. But I go to deep clean mode and I'm cleaning the entire apartment, scrubbing the floors, scrubbing the kitchen, getting literally down in the cracks between the little plank floorboard that we got here.
Floors.
Yeah, I got wood floors, and I'm taking a safety pin, and I'm getting it through the grooves, and then sweeping it up or getting it all out. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
Still smelling.
He did all of that. He cleaned the apartment multiple times. My best friend lives down the street. I went to stay with her to try to give myself a break and give him a chance to re-clean the apartment. Came back, same issue. And I was throwing up at her house as well. It just wouldn't really stop. So I had a trip planned to go home to Atlanta before I knew I was pregnant for my little brother's high school graduation. It turned out, originally I was not going to tell my mom yet, but if you know me and you know my mom asked if you're pregnant for everything. You sneeze, my mom's like, are you pregnant? You take a nap, she's like, you pregnant?
You must be pregnant.
Exactly. So I was so sleepy and so sick, I had no choice but to tell her that early, which wasn't a problem. But the thing about it was, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to go home to Atlanta because I was so sick. So the trip was planned for when I was 7 weeks, like to the day 7 weeks. That day I had to go to the hospital, to the ER, because I was so sick. I was dehydrated at that point. I had been throwing up so much that I was dehydrated. So I went to the ER. Milan took me to the ER, and they basically, gave me an IV line, gave me some fluids, and they wrote me a prescription for dicleges, which if you're pregnant, they say like most women who have really annoying morning sickness, they'll give them like a combination of a vitamin B6 and some kind of like sedative, I think it is, mixed together that helps you like relax and go to sleep. And they also gave me the very first time Reglan when I went to the hospital. Now, I will say at this point, nobody knew but us, really. So I hadn't told my mom, I hadn't told my sister. I was in the ER all day getting the IV, getting the Reglan, and I felt amazing, y'all. Like at the hospital before I left, I felt amazing. I was like, wow, I'm ready to go. So
it's nothing.
Let's bounce. I'm like, I'm going to Atlanta. Let's get it.
Lemon pepper wings.
Lemon pepper me, please. So we get, I'm like, hey, can y'all discharge me? Like, can you take this IV out? I'm trying to make a flight. And I really didn't want to miss, the graduation was the very next day. I didn't want to miss his graduation. So they discharged me. we rushed. I had not packed because I had been too sick to pack. We rushed back home. I packed in 3 minutes for this week-long trip. It was a week and a half trip to Atlanta. I had not been home really in a minute because of COVID. So, and the last time I did go home in the midst of COVID, I didn't go anywhere. So I'm really excited about this trip, right? I just told all my friends we go hang out, go eat, whatever.
Fully vaccinated.
Because we all vaccinated.
Everything.
So boom, I missed the flight. We make it to the airport. I got like 15 minutes, and Philly airport is really not ever that busy. So I almost made it. I was running through the hospital with through the airport with a hospital band on because I didn't have time to cut it off. And I missed my flight by like 1 minute. So they put me on the next flight. I get to Atlanta. We already made a plan at this point because I'm sick and I need to fill the prescriptions that they just wrote at the hospital that I have to tell my family. And so, you know, we told my my parents, and my sister was in town. My older sister, not to tell all her business, but she had hyperemesis. And she had 3 kids. She had hyperemesis with all 3 of her kids. So
did mine too.
And so did Milan's older sister. So we get, actually, I went by myself first because he still had stuff to do. So I went to Atlanta that night.
I had work.
Sorry, man. I went to Atlanta that night, told my parents, and then I was like, hey, I need somebody to drive me to the pharmacy to get these meds because it's real volatile and I need the meds. So, you know, the next day, you know, I told my family, and my sister off the bat immediately was like, you know, usually you feel this good right after the hospital. It's not because of the meds, it's because of the fluids, because you've been dehydrated. So usually you'll feel this good for a couple of days and then it might go back downhill, so just be cautious. So I'm thinking, okay, you know what you're talking about, but like I'm not gonna have what you had because that was extreme.
Yeah.
So whatever. So the next day, graduation, I'm on my meds. I'm pretty nauseous, but I'm cool. I'm thinking this is normal morning sickness. Like I might throw up. I got a bag just in case. I'm looking where the nearest exit is in case I gotta run. But I'm okay. I make it through the day, and I make it through that next day too. We had a cookout, like a graduation party. I made it through that day. Although I didn't feel great, I was fine. After that was it. I was back in the bed and on the bathroom floor nonstop. I was throwing up probably every hour or hour and a half. It's basically like a cycle. So I would, you know, throw up, then it's like you get 5 or 10 minutes of relief, and then your stomach starts churning again, and then it's just you waiting until the next time that you have to throw up. That was on the medication.
And I had just left too. Like that didn't happen until I left.
Yeah, you had came to Atlanta, and then after you left,
I had to go to my other job in Denver. And I'm on the phone with her like, oh no, this is not good.
Yeah. The
whole time.
And the first couple days, my mom didn't really understand how sick I was. My mom didn't have hyperemesis, but she, you know, obviously helped my sister through it. And so the first couple of days, my mom's just thinking I'm just having morning sickness. You know, she's like, you laying in bed too long. You need to get up. You need to eat eggs. You need to eat saltines. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I'm trying to explain to her like, none of that really works. Like I've done that. It doesn't matter if I eat, if I don't eat, I'm still gonna be sick. Like it doesn't really matter. So she's still kind of like, no, you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, no. But as time goes on, I'm getting sicker and sicker and more dehydrated. I can't stop throwing up. I'm in the middle of the night throwing up. The diclesius is not working. And as a matter of fact, I think it's worse because my stomach is hurting so bad that I actually couldn't sleep at night. So I'm just miserable during the day and then up at night waiting to throw up. But it like basically what the medicine does is it like slows, from my understanding, like slows your digestive tract down so that you don't like immediately, it doesn't come right back up your esophagus. The problem with that is like sometimes you need to throw up, and like it basically prevents you from doing that, so you get no relief at all. You just up and miserable. So I'm getting worse and worse and worse. I'm there for a week and a half. Can't see none of my friends. I'm in the bed. And then it comes time for me to go home, back to Philly. So the day of my flight, I'm barely moving. I'm barely talking. I'm telling my mom, like, I don't think I'm going to make it. I don't think I'm going to make it. She's like, just try to make it home. So I go to Hartsfield Jackson. I go to the airport. Y'all know Atlanta airport is busy. I think it's the busiest and one of the busiest in the world. I'm in security with a bag because I'm like, I'm going to throw up at any second. I'm sweating. That's another thing. I'm a cold nature person, but I'm just hot in pregnancy, just sweating. And I make it through, barely. I'm on the plane. I convince people to let me sit on the outside in case I need to get up and throw up. And I made it through. I made it home. You were still out of town for work. I did not throw up this whole time on the flight. And I thought for sure I was going to toss the cookies. But literally, as soon as I hit that door, I was in the bathroom. It's like my body knows. I don't know how to explain this. It's going to sound crazy. But my body like has this thing where it won't throw up in public. Like I just have this.
Can't do anything.
Like, I don't feel anxious about it. But it's almost like the vomit response in my body has like social anxiety. Like it just won't do it in public. So the doctors at the hospital, I think, didn't think I was as sick as I was, because usually at the hospital, like, I wouldn't be throwing up, but I would throw up in the car outside the hospital. Like, I was throwing up a lot. I just didn't do it in front of other people. I know that doesn't make sense, but that's just how my body moved. So I get here, I'm throwing up nonstop. I'm throwing up so much, there's nothing in my stomach to throw up. And because I'm throwing up so much, I'm starting to throw up blood. I feel like I have a hole in my esophagus. It hurts. So once I start throwing up the blood, I'm like, let me just lay down and go to sleep and see how I feel in the morning. In the morning, it was still the same situation. So he was out of town. I called my best friend. My best friend came and got me and took me to the ER. We get to the ER, and it's kind of the same routine. So they give you fluids to try to rehydrate you, and then they give you some different medications to see if that's gonna work. So the second time around, they gave me and send you home. Now this whole system is really messed up, and it's not enough time in this video to talk about why the American health system basically makes women with hyperemesis like get dehydrated, then go to the hospital, and then go home and repeat the cycle over and over, because
we're gonna talk about it though.
It's not free to go to the ER. So I don't know why there's not a better system, and why the system is like you just have to sit at home and throw up until you're dehydrated and then go to the ER. It's a really dumb system, but whatever. So I'm back at the ER. They give me my fluids, and they give me different meds this time. Now I've been on like 50 meds, so I really can't even remember the second go around what they gave me, but I know they gave me like promethazine, but like a suppository, so you have to stick it up your butt. Yeah, they gave me that. They gave me, what did they give me?
Did they give you the famotidine then?
They gave me famotidine, which is basically like an antacid that you take at night. They gave me
that's it?
No. That is famotidine. The other thing they gave me was Zofran. I don't think they wanted to give me the Zofran the second go round on the ER, but again, remember, my sister has hyperemesis, so at this point, I've already asked her what were you on, like what do I need to do? So I asked for Zofran. So they gave me Zofran, famotidine, and then the promethazine. So I'm on this cycle of meds. But to be clear, remember the first time I went to the ER, I felt good when I left. The second time, I never got back to good. So what they try to do is like overload you so you feel so good that you can stay out the hospital for a while. I never felt good the second time. I left the hospital still feeling awful, and I told them that. They were like, okay girl, go home. All right. So I went home, and I never got better. I got worse. I couldn't leave the room because I couldn't take the smell. Inhaling in the morning made me throw up. Moving slightly made me throw up. Turning over in bed made me throw up. The smell of him made me throw up.
She said, Milan, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but your essence makes me sick. Fellas, if your wife or whomever you with, if they ever say something like that, please don't take it personally.
I wasn't trying to be mean. I was just like, you gotta get out.
Yeah, I just was very lonely. You
gotta leave, bro, because I'm going to vomit if you don't.
Very, very
I'm gonna vomit regardless, but I like to vomit less. I like to try to not vomit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was rough. The smell of him, and I honestly, even a second ago, the smell of you, it still bothers me. I'm better now though. I'm not gonna run and throw up. You can lean back in. I'm used to it. But yeah, all of that made me throw up. I was trying everything. I was trying Jello. Because the smell of the house was so bad, we have a rooftop. I was sitting on the rooftop for like 8 hours at a time. But then it started getting hot because it's the summertime, so I couldn't sit out there. It was 90 degrees all day.
Tried to buy like a canopy
Bought a tent. So the point is, we tried to put me in a tent because it was that bad on the roof. I was ready to sleep on the roof in a tent. You hear me?
Yeah.
And if not sleep, at least stay up there during the day because it was that bad. So, I mean, and nothing really worked. I just got worse and worse and worse. Now, here's the kicker. The doctor, my OB up here, will not see you. And I had an appointment, but they will not see you until 10 weeks because, you know, there are things like you might miscarry before then, whoop-de-whoop. So they won't even see, and you can't hear the baby's heartbeat until like 6 weeks or so. So they won't even see you. At this point, I've been to the ER twice before I've been even to see my OB that I have an appointment with. So finally, I make it to 10 weeks. I go see my OB. I'm telling her, and it's a team of OBs, right? It's a whole OB team because that's how they do it now these days at the in these big medical practices. So I picked a practice that's affiliated with the hospital up here that's supposed to be really good. Okay, it's an Ivy League hospital. I ain't saying no names.
Deduce it.
I ain't saying no names, but it's an Ivy League hospital. In addition to it being an Ivy League hospital, the OBs in this practice have all kinds of awards for being the best OBs in Philly. In addition to that, I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm black. And the black maternal mortality crisis is very real. So I wanted to make sure that I had black OBs on my team. These black OBs are very accomplished, full of awards. Anything you can think of that's good, whoop-de-whoop. I did the research. They have it. Yeah. Okay. I go to see the OB. First doctor is a black doctor. And, you know, everything's normal. Everything's fine with the baby. I'm telling her basically, like, I have a family history of hyperemesis. I have not been doing well. I've been to the ER twice already. I'm still really sick. She didn't like laugh, but it was almost, she made some snide comment about Kate Middleton, the princess. Like, ever since she talked about her hyperemesis in the media, everybody thinks they have hyperemesis. Like, she didn't say that full sentence, but that was the gist of what she was getting at. Now, I don't know if y'all ever have met anyone with hyperemesis, but it's not a good time. I have no reason to pretend to want to throw up from sunup to sundown. I'm a PhD student. I'm very busy, and I don't really have time to be sick, to be clear.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows me knows I'm the queen of pushing through sickness. Okay? Before COVID times, I did not miss work if I was sick or otherwise. Okay? I went to work because you have patients, you have clients. It's not like a regular work schedule or you just call out. If you call out, that means that family has to cancel and reschedule. So I go to work. I do what I'm supposed to do. Even if I'm sick, I push through and then go home. I could not get out of bed. Hear me well. I could not send emails. Milan was sending emails for me. If it didn't have client information in it, he was responding to the email. If you got an email from me, he did it. Okay, it was him. I could not do any of that. I'm basically just trying to make it through so I don't get fired from my job. I can't move. I can't think. Looking at screens made me throw up. And so the OB is basically like, yeah, okay, whatever. So I'm already getting a vibe and I'm like, okay, here we go. But all right, hopefully, I'm still hoping I don't have hyperemesis because they hadn't diagnosed me with it yet. They said I was on the way there when I went to the ER the second time, but I wasn't there yet. So I was like, okay, cool, maybe this will pass. They keep telling you it'll pass. By 12 weeks, you'll be better.
13 weeks.
13 weeks should be better. Weeks. You're not better at 13 weeks. 14 weeks should be better. They just keep pushing it back. They don't really know when you'll be better, so they just keep saying a week and hoping that you'll be better. So after I go to the OB, I'm still not better. I'm still not better, dog. Like, I'm still not better. Now, this is, what week we at? Like, it might have been week 12.
Week 12.
Week 12. So
when we go back to the ER? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it was
week 12.
Week 12.
Yeah.
So one of my college roommates was getting married this summer. Again, this was the second trip to Atlanta that I had planned. And I did not want to miss her wedding. Okay? This is very important for me to make her wedding.
And it was also our anniversary trip.
It was also our anniversary. We haven't had, because we got married in 2019, we haven't had an anniversary yet that hasn't been dampened by COVID. So we were like, the least we could do is go to Atlanta. Of course, we booked this before I was pregnant and sick. So we're excited for this trip. I really don't want to miss it. But I'm not getting better. I'm getting worse. The doctor told me, she knew all the medications I was on. She told me take something every 4 hours. I should be putting something in my system. I'm doing that. It's not working. You went home for a funeral. Mm-hmm. He put me in a hotel for the weekend because I couldn't take the smell and I was starting to get too dehydrated again. So he put me in a hotel. At this point, I'm really not eating. I'm eating like a handful of Cheerios in a day. That's pretty much it. If everything else is coming up, fluids are coming up, any food's coming up, some of my medicine that I'm on is coming up. I had called this is what I've got to say. Somewhere in between week 11 and 12, I called my OB office. I get the other highly decorated black doctor in a practice. And, you know, the nurse at the practice, first I got the nurse. The nurse, who, she's really sweet, but like, no. She tells me, well, if you've taken all the medications and you're still sick, you're out of options. I say, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not out of options because I know what the options are because I had a sister with hyperemesis and also have 2 line sisters who are OBGYNs, coincidentally.
And we got people up here, like
and
my dean, his wife
is an OB in the city.
Yeah, and my sister was even like, you got these options.
We already know the options.
So many people.
Point is, we know the options.
All of them.
So when I call my doctor's office and they tell me if you can't handle the oral medications, there are no options. I'm angry, to be honest, because I'm so sick. I've tried to have him call. They wouldn't talk to him because they're like, we got to talk to you because you're the patient. I'm like too sick to talk because I can't talk without throwing up. And so I'm doing my best to tell her, like, listen, I'm not okay. I need either a Zofran pump. At this point, I'm begging for a Zofran pump because that was one option I had heard of. My older sister had a PICC line because she was so sick. I'm at this point not eating. So I'm begging and I'm crying and I'm like, hey, I'm not okay. I need something else.
Just listen.
They're not listening. She's like, you're okay. There's one medication you haven't tried. I'm going to prescribe it. So she prescribes Tygan, which I would go get the pill bottle and show you, but just know it's horse pills. So basically anything that I can...
the size of this doggone nickel.
Anything that I can feel hit the back of my throat is automatic throw up. You understand what I'm saying? So if it's big, even if I can swallow it, it comes right back up because it's like it hits the back of my throat. The gag reflex is hypersensitive right now. I throw up for anything. It comes right back up. So that was a waste of time, as I knew it would be. But they didn't listen. So that was useless. Then I'm getting worse. He has to go home for a funeral. Puts me in a hotel because I'm getting really bad at this point and I'm trying to not get to the point of being super dehydrated where I have to go back to the hospital. So I'm in the hotel for the weekend. It's this 4th of July weekend. I'm in the hotel for the weekend. I'm not doing great. I'm still not eating. I'm still throwing up. I'm throwing up my meds. Oral meds at this point I can't keep down. I'm throwing up meds. I can't keep down fluids. I'm throwing that up. I can't keep down food. I'm throwing that up. I can't really stand I can't really stand up for long periods of time. I'm just getting weak. I'm not doing well. Soon as he gets back to town, I'm like, you gotta take me to the ER right now. Like, he came to pick me up from the hotel. We went straight to the hospital. I get to the ER, and I always walk in alone because the parking situation in this hospital is crazy. So he always drops me off. So I go in the ER and I'm telling him, hey, I'm crying. I can't even, like, I'm in hysterics this whole time. I can't even hold it because I'm doing so bad. I feel like nobody's helping me. I tell them, hey, I'm not doing good. And they start asking me, like, I'm not eating. They start asking me questions about, like, are you having cramps? And I'm like, sometimes, you know, like, I've had cramps past couple days or something. You know, not right now. They start asking me all these other questions like, are you suspicious that you're having a miscarriage? Do you suspect that you're having a miscarriage? And I'm like, no. They proceed to ask me like 5 more questions about a miscarriage. And I'm like, that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I can't keep down my oral meds and I can't keep down food or fluids and I'm really sick and I need help. I'm starving. I feel hungry. I'm starving. I haven't eaten in a week. They keep asking me questions about miscarriage. So they kind of like, I can see it in their face, like, send her upstairs. So previously in the ER, they basically just send me back to, I guess, whatever triage is, give me an IV, whatever, put me in a room. They sent me upstairs to this like maternal medicine clinic or whatever. And basically I'm like freaking out because I'm thinking I'm having a miscarriage. So I'm freaking out. I'm thinking I'm having a miscarriage, which was not my concern at all. But they were scaring me. And you were parking and I'm like texting him like, they keep mentioning miscarriage, whoop, 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 whoop. So obviously that's bad enough, but if you have hyperemesis, you know there's like this added layer of like, if something happens to this pregnancy, I gotta start this all over again. Like, I mean, losing a baby, I mentioned, is bad enough, but like, I cannot explain how miserable hyperemesis is. So the whole time I'm just thinking, I gotta start this over again. So anyway, I didn't have a miscarriage. I wasn't having a miscarriage. Of course, I didn't think I was, but they were freaking me out. So they put me like in this maternal clinic. He gets there, and they bring me back. The nurse comes in, and she was a mean nurse too. I didn't like her. I have pretty good nurses, but I did not like her. She was asking me to tell her what was wrong, so I'm trying to tell her, but I'm in full hysterics. Like, this is just tears. I'm in full hysterics. Like, she can't really understand what I'm saying because I'm just crying at this point, trying to breathe through words. I'm snotty, I'm crying because I'm miserable, and this is my third time at the hospital. People not listening to me, so I can tell she's annoyed. She goes to get the doctor. You're up there by this point. So the doctor comes in, and I'll tell you that I've been advocating for myself this whole time. I have the family history. Like I said, we are very well connected with OBs who are close loved ones who have been guiding us through this process, and we know what the best practices are. That comes with having privilege, okay? We're college educated, our friends, our doctors, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand not everybody has that level of access to professionals.
Yeah.
So that helped me to advocate. But nothing helped, in my opinion, this is my opinion, more than my husband's affiliation for undergrad. So he comes in, my husband went to Ivy League school as well. He wears his Ivy League gear everywhere, but especially when I go to the hospital. So he got on his stuff.
I can say mine. I went to Dartmouth College.
All right.
Shout out. Go Big Green.
He got on his stuff. The doctor walks in. She also went to Dartmouth, and coincidentally at the same time that he went to Dartmouth. They were classmates. So
she was a little young.
Oh, she's a year or two younger, but I mean, y'all are classmates. Y'all was at the same time. So she comes in, she sees the Dartmouth. She's like, oh, Dartmouth. So they chummy, they friends. They having a whole conversation about Dartmouth and what years and all this and that.
What you did, what
you did, what sports you played. They having a good conversation. So after this, I kind of just get this sense, you know, this doctor, first of all, she's a little bit more receptive. She listened better. But I'm telling you, it's something about that affiliation that made them listen. So this doctor, instead of sending me home, because I'm suspecting they just going to give me fluids and send me home, which I did not want to happen because I needed more help, she goes and gets another doctor for a second opinion. The other doctor comes in and talks. I've called my mom on FaceTime at this point because I'm sick, y'all, and I'm not getting better, and nobody's listening to me. They all just want to give me oral meds and send me home, that I can't keep the oral meds down. So she goes and get the other doctor. She come in and talk. It's not really looking good. I'm asking for a Zofran pump. They basically looking at me crazy, like, no. But they go confer, and then they essentially, after they leave the room, probably because I'm in full hysterics still, decide that they're gonna admit me to the hospital. So I'm grateful. This make me go to any more hysterics, even deeper hysterics, because I'm like, finally somebody's listening.
Yeah.
And that should tell you how bad it is that I was crying tears of joy to be admitted. Okay. So I'm crying tears of joy because they have admitted me to the hospital. I've never been like in the hospital. I've never been that sick before. But I'm elated to be in the hospital. So they admit me, and you know, they give me IVs. They give me my meds through my IV line, and I start getting better. I'm feeling good. I'm able to eat. I'm eating real food. Granted, I don't feel great. I still feel queasy, like I might throw up, and I did throw up in the hospital. But I'm getting better. I'm actually able to eat something. They gave me a nutritionist. They gave me a whole team. It was like 5 or 6 high-risk OBGYNs. Now, I had asked my OB office for a high-risk consult the week before that. They told me I couldn't have it. So I'm at the hospital. I got a whole team of high-risk OBs. They're all using their great, smart brains collectively to help me.
And one of those doctors.
Also went to Dartmouth. So she come in the room being chummy with him, too. So I'm telling you, it's just like,
I start just talking, just like, look, let me talk to you.
Yeah.
And this is what we need. And she ended up being the one that would come back multiple times and talk to us as well, because we started to have that rapport. And they started to listen once they realized, hey, we actually know what we're talking about. And she's actually doing the stuff that we've been telling you she's doing this entire time.
And I think because I had to stay at the hospital a week and I actually was still throwing up on the meds, they finally got to see my body couldn't hold it that long. So they finally got to see like she actually is as sick as she's saying. And in addition to that, I also had my mom on FaceTime helping me advocate. Every time they walked in the room, I called my mom. My mom is a nurse, and again, she helped my sister through hyperemesis. So they're listening finally. They give me, I couldn't tell you everything I was on in the hospital, but I was on a lot of meds, and I was still kind of, you know, I'm still prescribed all those meds. So they gave me Zofran through the IV. I have fluids, of course, nonstop. They gave me, because my electrolytes were depleted, they gave me some, like, I guess electrolytes. They gave me like potassium and some other stuff. They gave me a nutritionist who would come in and like give me different things like Ensure, kind of tell me what I needed to try to eat. They gave me prednisone, which is a steroid, so I was on steroids. And they gave me, I was on steroids once a day. They gave me you probably can't see it, but a nausea patch, a scopolamine patch that I change every 3 days. They gave me that in the hospital. They also had me on Reglan in the hospital. And that might have been,
what was the milk magnesia?
Oh, and I was constipated. So because pregnancy makes you constipated, but Zofran, the anti-nausea meds make you really constipated, and I hadn't been in like a week and a half. So they did give me milk and magnesia, but I couldn't stomach that without throwing up. So they gave me Miralax to mix in water and to drink, which I really wasn't drinking, but whatever. I wasn't hard-headed. I just, again, I have shy body fluids in front of other people. That's just how I am. So I'm on all these medications. I'm getting better. I'm at the hospital for a week because, first of all, my team is listening and they're trying to figure out what they can do to help me feel this good outside the hospital. So they're checking with my insurance on the Zofran pump. They really kind of told me, like, this is not something we do up here, but we'll check on it for you, and I appreciated that. So they had called around, talked to my insurance, you know, consulted with some other physicians. Ultimately, it was a no on the Zofran pump. I begged for a PICC line. It was a no on the PICC line. They told me I wasn't sick enough to have a PICC line.
Oh, one other thing as well. They finally admitted that she had hyperemesis.
They diagnosed me with hyperemesis
because
finally.
The doctor's office, the OB that we went to, didn't even want to admit that. They didn't even want to entertain the fact that, hey, she has this. So these people finally say, hey, yeah, it's clear to us that you have hyperemesis.
Yeah. So they diagnosed me with hyperemesis and gave me all those meds. Wouldn't give me the Zofran pump, wouldn't give me the PICC line. So I'm like, well, when I leave, if I'm just on oral meds, I'm gonna end up going back to being as sick as I was before. So what they did was they decided to set me up with home health, meaning that a nurse was gonna come to my house twice a week, run an IV with fluids and Zofran, and fluid Zofran through my line. The problem with that is I have the worst veins in history. I've had them my whole life. It has nothing to do with pregnancy. Pregnancy and dehydration has made it worse. I've always had bad veins. It's rare for people to be able to stick me in my arm. I always get stuck in the hand because that's my only good veins. And the IVs in the hospital had already blown the veins in my hand through the IVs. So my hands were, even after I was discharged from the hospital, it took like 2 weeks for the swelling in my hands to go down. So because of that, and I had my mom on the phone, my mom suggested a midline, which is what I have in now. So if you don't know what a midline is, it's not real pretty to look at. It's basically like an IV implanted in your arm so that you don't have to keep getting stuck every time you need an IV, because I already know I don't have enough veins for that, and it was going to be a waste of everybody's time. So basically they implanted a midline in my arm and set me up for home health. This has been a game changer. It's not fun to have a midline, but it is great to not be have to be stuck twice a week. So basically, when they discharged me, the medications I was still on they kept all those medications. So the steroids I was on for a period of time, I'm not on those anymore. They gave me Reglan. I don't take the Reglan anymore. Zofran, I still take that every day. The scopolamine patch, I will die without this. Hear me well. I forgot to change this patch a week and a half ago on schedule, and I was just as sick as when I was admitted to the hospital. I thought I couldn't get out of bed. I thought I was gonna have to go back to the hospital until I realized I forgot to change this. This has side effects. It blurs your vision. It makes you dizzy. I'll speak for myself. It makes me dizzy. There were a couple times I almost fainted. And it just, I think it's a little strong. It just has side effects. And so, but
the side effects are worth it.
The side effects are well worth it. So in the middle of me trying to deal with all the side effects, I forgot to change it. And I was very, very sick. So this is holding me together. In addition to that, I still have the famotidine. I take that kind of more as needed. But the home health nurses come out. They change my dressing once a week, and they taught us how to run the line. Really, Milan does all the work. So Milan runs my line on the other day. They only come out once. Milan runs the line twice a week for me, with the IV, with the Zofran. And the Zofran, it takes like 30 minutes. The saline, I have saline for fluids. That takes supposedly 4 hours, but it really takes longer than that. And so yeah, I have nurses that come out, and they're great.
And I am a nurse as well, right?
No.
I am a UN, which is an unregistered nurse, but it is official. I have my first patient. We got a clinic in the other room. As you can see, we got all the, well, it's there. We got the equipment in here. I got gloves. I got masks. I got, look, the blood pressure pumps. I got all the stuff I need to run a little small clinic for one.
Yeah. Oh, and I take baby aspirin. I think that's the other thing I take right now.
Baby aspirin.
For hypertension. I don't have hypertension, but because I'm Black and it's my first pregnancy, I think those are the two risk factors that make me have to take baby aspirin every day.
Because I'm Black.
Yeah, but being Black is a risk factor.
I just think
it's like your weight, being Black, first pregnancy, multiple pregnancies. It's like a bunch of risk factors. So I have two of them, Black and first pregnancy. So I have to take baby aspirin every day. And I also have to do take my blood pressure once a week. But it's kind of pointless because I have nurses right now. But the midline is only good for 30 days. So today actually is day 30, but my parents are still in town. So I pushed the removal till tomorrow. So they're gonna come take it out tomorrow. Now, they offered to put me another midline in. I'm pretty sure it would have had to go on my dominant arm. So I said I'd rather see how I do without it. I'm going to miss the fluids. I don't think I necessarily need the fluids and even the Zofran at this point. But it's like, it makes me feel better. Like physically, not mentally, like physically, it keeps me going. It like keeps me hydrated. It keeps me feeling better. But I wouldn't probably die without it. This patch, now listen, they try to take that away, they're gonna have to fight me. They're gonna have to fist fight me. This midline has been great. We have to flush it every day. So Milan flushes it every day so you don't get blood clots. I haven't had any issues with it, infections, anything like that. It's been pretty easy to manage. The thing about it is it's really uncomfortable. I had a like allergic reaction to the first dressing that was on it, so I like scratched a bunch of holes in my arm. But it's a lot less itchy now. But it does hurt like after they change it. Like it's not something that you can't lift over like 5 pounds. Like it's just not something you really want to have. You can't lift more than a milk jug. It's a nuisance. Like you don't really want to have it unless you need it, which I did need it. So we'll see how I do without it. I might need it still. I might have to get another one. We'll see. Jury's still out, but they have to remove this one regardless. So that's where we're at with that. After they sent me home with all this stuff, I got better. I was finally able to eat. And I want to say better is relative, because I know a lot of people who knew how sick I was. Not a lot of people knew how sick I was. The people who did know how sick I was, like my boss, for example, and some of my family members, they're like, you're great. Like, even though I have all this stuff at home, they're like, you're excellent because you're up smiling, you can eat. Like,
night and day difference.
Night and day difference. But I want to qualify that and say, my better, if you take this away, I'm not better. I'm back to square one. And even with this, I don't feel amazing. I'm still nauseous, mostly from sun up to sundown. But I don't, like, I know I'm not going to throw up most likely. But I feel nauseous from sun up to sundown. I don't feel hunger at all, really, except for in the morning when I'm really empty. I don't feel hungry, so I just have to remember to eat, because if I don't eat enough, I feel even more nauseous. If I eat too much, I feel nauseous, even more nauseous. And then I have migraines. I have a history of chronic migraines. I've had it since I was a teenager. But last week, I had like a week-long migraine that I haven't had a migraine that bad since I was in undergrad. It was bad. So the headaches and migraines are bad. What's the other thing? The dizziness, like I said, I almost fainted a couple times. Of course, I'm still really, really sleepy. That I think that's just pregnancy. But they say that when you hit second trimester, you feel amazing. That's not the truth for me. I don't feel amazing, but compared to how I felt before, amazing. Yes, more than amazing. The other thing is I'm congested a lot. If I don't edit it out, you'll see me sneezing a lot in this video. I can't breathe. I don't have COVID. It's just like pregnancy has made me congested, and I like sneeze nonstop. And then I don't know if it's the medicine or the baby, but I don't feel like I'm glowing out. I have like acne, which I've never had. It's just like on one side of my, really concentrated on one side of my face, but it's all over. My skin is just wild. So yeah, pregnancy, I mean, it hasn't been a great time. I'm not gonna lie. Like, people want you to be joyous about it. I think we're joyous about our kid, but like pregnancy itself, I could do without it. Like, overrated experience for me. I know it's been very stressful for Milan. He tries not to show it, but like seeing me that sick and not being able to move, having to run IV lines, being in the hospital, in and out the hospital. I think also for you, I mean, I don't know, you could speak for yourself, but like, I think just how hysterical I was as well was probably a lot for you, because I'm not really a super emotional person to begin with, but I feel like I just remember days where I just woke up crying. Yeah, it just...
Yeah. The most stressful part about this was that I had no solutions. There was nothing that I could do. There was literally, I was getting frustrated because I'm trying to call doctors. I'm trying to get people on the phone. Like, look, y'all not about to have my wife feeling like this for no reason.
When there's options.
When we got options. We know the options. Y'all, this is ridiculous. And then to have them, instead of calling me, this is one of the most stressful parts, was like, and I tried to minimize it as much as possible, but instead of calling me back, like I specifically said in my instructions, call me back, call this number, they call her and she can't talk. And she has to force herself to try to talk to them, and it's making her sicker. And by the time I find out that she on the phone with them and talking to them, it's already a wrap.
Yeah.
And they not trying to hear nothing else. And I'm trying to call back, and she like, baby, don't do it. Don't call. Because at that point, I'm ready to fight.
Because you're given how Black mothers die during pregnancy or during childbirth, it's not really necessarily concerned about it. I'd be labeled as difficult because I didn't cuss anybody out. I wasn't rude to anybody, but I was persistent and pushy, and probably not pushy enough because they didn't really help me at my OB's office. I had to get a high risk team in the hospital,
had to go
and that wasn't
them.
free. I was in the hospital for a week. That's a big bill, just to get help. So I already know what it's like. So I didn't want him to like blow up on them and then that make it even worse the way they were caring for me. So
I'm not a blow up person.
I know you're not.
That's the thing.
But it was like, very stressful. It was very stressful.
It was to that point to where I am about to blow up
because they just weren't listening.
It wasn't,
and it was extremely stressful. And I just felt like every day, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, make this stop. Get me off of this ride. I don't want to do this anymore because it was that bad. I was just like, I can't do this. So yeah, I mean, I guess my takeaway is I was just, when I was in the bed and couldn't move, I was looking for hope. I was looking for, you know, my sister didn't get better than 20 weeks. I was like, I don't want to have to wait 20 weeks to get better. I was looking like, do people get better before 20 weeks? Like, what are other people's experiences? What did they advocate for? How well did their doctors listen? Were their doctors like mine and I'm just tripping? You know, so I just wanted to share my experience and what I had to do to get help. Somebody finally listened to me. There's no reason for you to sit at home and suffer if you really are having hyperemesis, you can get help. There's meds for it. If the meds don't work, there are other things that they can do. I was super privileged. My OB friend sent me the actual OB guidelines of best practice, so I knew what was next, because the doctors would not tell me what the next step was. When they would say, we're going to try this medication, I say, okay, if this fails, what's the next step? What's our next line? Because their only thing was, we're going to try this and hope that you're better. I'm not going to keep hoping and praying for hospital admissions. You tell me what your plan is so we can be prepared for the next step when this doesn't work. And so when stuff didn't work, I knew to say, hey, you didn't try this yet. Steroids is the next step. So when are we going to try that? And so that helped me. Not everybody has people in their corner helping them advocate the way I did. And I'm grateful and appreciative for that, but it also infuriates me because I know, in this city, especially the Black maternal mortality rate, I don't know if you know this, is higher than the national average.
Yeah.
Philly is a very poor city. It makes me furious that I know that there are people who don't have the privileges that we have, who are suffering because their doctors are not listening to them. It makes me really angry. It made me angry for myself. I'm still angry for myself because it was a tough experience and I shouldn't have had to go through all of that. And the thing that really pissed me off, this is the thing that really pissed me off. I know this is a long video. I'm gonna have to chop this up and screw it real good.
It's all good. You can actually just let it ride. Yeah.
The thing that really pissed me off is when I call my OB office all the time, what they said was,
Ooh.
well, if you are so sick that you can't get out of bed and you really want to go back to work, we will write you out of work. We can write you out of work. We'll write a letter to your job saying she's too sick to work. And you were like, well, when I was pregnant, I was sick. They didn't have hyperemesis. They just had no morning sickness. I had to sit at home for 8 months. I couldn't work. I was in the bed. I didn't feel good. Two things about that. Cute for you. Great that you sat at home for 8 months. That was your choice. Me sitting at home is not going to make me better. I'm still going to be sick. Whether I'm going to work or not, I'm going to be sick unless you treat me. So no, I'm not going to sit at home, and I don't need you to write me out of work. What I need you to do is follow the OB guidelines and take the next course of action to make me better. That I know is there because I've seen the guidelines. So that's one thing that pissed me off. But then, the thing about it is, everybody can't just, this is what really pisses me off about it. And I say this with so much privilege. I'm a PhD student. This is the most flexible job you can have. I have great insurance. I mean, obviously I'm married. My husband has insurance, but I'm not even on his insurance. My program pays for my insurance, so we don't pay for it at all. We don't pay no premiums on my insurance. And I have good insurance.
Great insurance.
My insurance is dependent upon me being enrolled in school and or working on my assistantship. So if I was so sick that I needed to take a medical leave, what that means is I would have to take a leave of absence and lose my insurance. I would lose my insurance. Now, number one, I don't want to lose my insurance because I like my insurance, and I actually think the insurance for the situation I'm in is better than if I would get on his plan. I think my insurance is better. But what really pisses me off about it is they're just assuming that I can afford to do that. If I was single and not married, would you just say, I'm going to write you out of work for 9 months and you can sit at home? How do you think that woman is going to pay her bills? I was off of work for 2 months because I was physically incapable of working. I could not do it. If I didn't have the type of job that I have, I would have been fired probably. You understand that? Or I was sitting in bed begging for help and they were ignoring me. If I was low income, underprivileged, under-resourced, I would have been fired and evicted. You hear what I'm saying to you? This is what pisses me off about this.
And
I realize
you don't have nobody else up here for real.
Nobody. But it's not even about me. I'm just saying this is the type of systemic issues that drives the rates that you see when you got somebody who's educated and telling you, I know what the next step is, and you choosing to ignore them because you think you know better when you really haven't treated that many people with hyperemesis. You telling them to just sit down for 9 months and be miserable, and when they're telling you they can't work and they gotta pay their bills, and you saying, oh, it's fine, we'll just write you out. That's not a solution, sis. So it really makes me angry. And what really, it continued when I was on Google and YouTube looking up stuff, and I'm seeing that other pregnant women have had the same experience. Like, a lot of doctors really don't deal with hyperemesis that often because it's supposedly a rare disease, although we seem to know a lot of people who had it.
Seem like
very bad, enough to have PICC lines. Okay, so the thing about it is, a lot of doctors don't deal with it that often, and so they don't really know what they're doing. Even now, I can tell you, I had to go through. I had to set this up to get my midline removed tomorrow. I went to I had an OB appointment this week, and I asked my doctor, "Hey, are you gonna write the order to remove the midline?" She didn't know what I was talking about. She didn't know. She had no idea. She had no idea. So and there's so much I want to say about that. I'm gonna save it for later because I know this video is super long. But I just wanted to share my experience, what I had to deal with to get what I needed. This journey is not over. I'm not healed, really. I still have pretty much days. I have to take it day by day where I feel awful and I can't get anything done. But, you know, I just try my best to push through for the sake of it. The real reason I wanted to make this video is because if you have hyperemesis or you suspect you have hyperemesis, you don't have to sit at home and suffer. Don't let people play you. People are going to tell you that you just need to have ginger ale and saltines, even though you know none of that is working. They're going to tell you ginger candies and all this stuff that's on the internet. None of that worked for me because I was that sick. So don't let people play you when you know you've tried that and it's not helping. And don't let doctors play you. Even if you don't have OBs in your corner to help you advocate, you just keep pushing and telling them no, or asking questions. What's the next step? Why can't I have this? Give me the reasoning. Document in my chart that I asked for this and you said no. Make them answer you when you have questions. Do not just let up on them, because some of them really don't know. It's not because they're not well trained, they just don't deal with this disorder a lot, so they really don't know what they're talking about a lot of the times, is what I've discovered. Don't let them play you. And all I can say is, like my sister told me, it gets better. Try not to stress. I don't know. I know that's useless advice because it's hard not to stress. It's hard not to feel miserable. Like you just, in a non-suicidal way, there were days where I was like, I just would rather not wake up and then start the misery cycle over again. So I know it's kind of futile to say that, but just know that it won't hopefully last forever for you, and that there are options to make this all easier for you, because you deserve a little bit of joy. Now my pregnancy is not joyous, but I can enjoy some things now. I can get out and move, and I can get out of bed. I can sit in my living room. I could not do this for my entire first trimester. It took 2 weeks ago. I couldn't sit on my couch. So just know, yeah, there's options.
And to those partners, to my men out there who are dealing with this as well, or going through this, or to those partners who are doing it with their spouse as well, whatever we're going through, guaranteed is not anything close to what she's going through. So I love you for that. Thank you very much.
You too, babe. You've been great. You've been really great to me, as you should. As you should. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. I don't know if I'll play it straight through because I know it's long, but if this was helpful, you know, you guys can always, like you already do anyway, reach out to me via email. I'm not an OB, so I don't know. I'm not gonna have medical advice for you, but if you have questions about things or my experiences, I'm happy to always answer that as I'm able. So good luck with everything. If you're pregnant, if you're not pregnant, take your birth control. Pregnancy's overrated, okay? All right, love you, bye.
Also, the house is coming.
We're not talking about that. Okay, love you, bye. Holla. Godspeed.
Peace.